It's almost over. But I started with the Meridian right before the pandemic. So excellent timing on my part. It was actually back when Perla was still our editor-in-chief. So hi Perla. I don't know if you remember me because I like never.
I was gonna say, but because we never met in person, it was a pandemic. I was like, is that her? I want to make sure.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, it was kind of crap timing on my part. But I heard through sort of word of mouth. I'm in the Lehman Scholars Program, which is like the honors program on campus, and there's a lot of like Lehman Scholars and Macaulay Honors people who join the Meridian, and so I kind of heard through word of mouth about it, and I said, oh, I've always loved writing, and I wanted to try it out, and I feel like the best way to get better at writing is to do it often. So yeah, so far I am currently the assistant arts and entertainment editor for the paper. So I've done a few articles on like anime and movies. Those are kind of my forte. And one very cute article on pets. But overall, for the future of the paper, I've got sort of big dreams and big ambitions. I feel like it can really be something amazing and something great. And I kind of want to branch off into more like digital content because I feel like that's definitely the way that most media are going these days. We have a few writers who are really interested in that kind of thing. I also like the idea of doing some like op-eds, like opinion pieces. I think that could be really fun. And overall, just, I want it to feel like this is where we get our news from on campus, rather than pulling up Google or something or waiting for that one newsletter a month from the chancellor. This is where we can go to get our news about Lehman and Lehman things and Bronx things and everything. So that's kind of my vision for the future. And I would really hope that everyone would be willing to help out. So that's my spiel. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you. That was wonderful. I wrote down this goal of this is where we get our news from. I think that's such a crystallized initiative. So thank you for sharing that. Any questions for Nicole before David Charkape speaks a bit? All right. Well, David, if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. So my name is David Charkape, Assistant Director for the Office of Campus Life. And I see some familiar faces. Good to see you. Perla, of course, Teresa. Anyways, so I was part, as I mentioned to you a few minutes ago, to a few of you, I was part of the Meridian back in 2012, 2013. I was the production manager, production editor. I used to do the design of the paper. I never wrote anything, but I was very involved into the creation or suggesting topics for to cover for the month. So I was part of that rotation because I was involved with the Meridian, but I was also involved in the student news. In the Dream Team, which is a club that fights for immigrant rights. And I was also involved in the Office of Campus Life. I was working here. So I pretty much was connected with a lot of things that were happening on campus. Plus I used to live like maybe 2 blocks away from the campus. So whenever I had an opportunity to see things happening on campus, I will take photos and then somebody else will actually write the piece. So I have some suggestions for you to write for this month, but that will come later. In the chat, I shared a link that is the guide that I used to use, that was given to me when I was part of the Meridian. And it helped me a great deal to define what was my role within the paper. At least the production editor position, it made it clear to me. Whoever is holding this position, the important thing is not about that it looks pretty. The important thing is that your stories are being read, and people can see them clearly and they understand what they are reading. It could be just pieces of paper stapled together. It doesn't really matter how the paper reaches the student. The important thing is that it reaches the student. So more than the design is about making it legible and locating those papers in the strategic points around the campus so that it can be read, right? Similarly to those ideas, for every position, from editor-in-chief to other editors of section editors, there is suggestions on what to do, and even for writers in that book. I know that book is the version that I shared is I think is the first edition. I think there are newer editions, but that particular one is cheaper to get if you are trying to buy it, used, and it's very helpful. So feel free to buy it. I'll definitely buy it for you guys. I will buy a few copies, but if you want your own, I would suggest that you go and get that particular edition just because it's cheaper. And I'll be happy to share any experience that I had with you guys. I don't want to be keep talking for the entire meeting, but I'm glad to see a group of students that are enthusiastic for the newspaper. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That's so interesting that as a designer, you say that content should come first. And, it's like I came to that conclusion as well. Before I was a writer, I was a designer. I wasn't as good, but I came to that realization. So before I get into my spiel, I'm going to very briefly talk about history of the paper, what each section covers, and how compensation goes. I will be as transparent as possible. This paper is yours. It is funded by student fees. So in my mindset, everyone should have access to it. Anyone who wants to participate has the right to participate. And while I will be talking a lot this session, future sessions, maybe people will organize a new member social meetup or something. Future sessions will be all for you. But for now, I'm going to talk for about 20 minutes, give you a nice survey of the Meridian. So let me share my screen. All right. And this is recording. If you need to hop out, feel free. You can always watch this presentation later. Oops. Play from start. All right, there we go. We got the fancy little animation and everything. So as I said, the Meridian is the student voice of Lehman College. I love this quote: "Journalism is the first rough draft of history." It's from the former publisher of the Washington Post, Philip Graham. So even though this is a student newspaper, the archives go back until its founding in 1967. So it is quite extraordinary what it covers. This is the first draft of history. The Meridian in particular has a fascinating origin story. It gets its name from this 3 civil rights activists who worked in Meridian, Mississippi, and they were unfortunately murdered by the KKK for trying to uncover and put to justice several local law enforcement members. I think I need more coffee. Anyway, so Lehman College was founded in 1967. These events, these three men who were in their early 20s were murdered in their 1964. And the founders of the Meridian took great inspiration in their dedication to the truth. And that's why this paper is named the Meridian. You can see on the right side, this is an actual photo that is from the Meridian. It's of a police officer reading about his own escapade chasing a suspect across campus. So the first section is news. News is rather broad. Generally, it relates to anything that is noteworthy in the Lehman community or the CUNY community. So a few topics. It can be about real estate. It can be about a student club's petition or even a student movement. Perhaps there are debates within student government or updates from student government that you think that everyone should know about. Campus safety and policing is a huge topic. Staff or faculty advancement. If a faculty member wins a $500,000 award, you might want to, that is newsworthy. On the right side are some actual stories that have run in the past. Nearby developments hold promise to revive Lehman's neighborhood. Jerome Park Reservoir renovation raises concerns about access. CUNY faculty protest funding cuts. Lehman students angered by reversal of LGBTQ rights. News, once it's all laid out and comes together, it might look like this, which is a beautiful layout of an important issue. Arts and entertainment is the next section. It is anything that is artful or entertaining to you. It can be about dance, theater, graphic design. We probably need more book reviews. We have a good number of film reviews. Video games, though, perhaps Nicole or someone else who is interested in animation might want to interview a video game designer. These on the right are actual headlines from former issues. The Testaments proves Margaret Atwood still has what it takes to enthrall readers. Latin American Art Triennial shows how bonds transgress borders. This one's about the Joker. Bronx female celebs shine in feminist Goodfellows. I love this review. And I'll be happy to talk about that another time. But once it goes through the editing process, the design process, it looks like something like this. The final section is called Lifestyle. It's about various groups and how we live at Lehman. It can be super broad. It can include sports, religion, LGBTQ plus issues, nutrition. You could interview a faculty member whose research might interest you. It can be about a student life or a club. It could be about Greek life. Some example headlines. Can the Lehman Lightning, that is our sports team, by the way, for those who might not know, and I'm sure at least half of the people here don't know. Can the Lehman Lightning soccer team overcome last season's upset? And this one's about an English faculty member. Jane Cleland reveals her path to success. Down here, NYC women break barriers in local business. So you can be creative with it. This article combined, I would say, news, arts and entertainment, and lifestyle. So there's always some flexibility. Here was a wonderful article about Lehman Small Business Association helps the Bronx grow. So joining as a writer. If you're interested in becoming a writer, it's a non-elected position. It pays 10 cents a word. so if you were to write 600 words, which this semester is generally the limit, you would earn $60. And that is slightly above the collegiate standard. So it's a good rate. So writers pitch an article to the editor of whatever section is pertinent. The article, it's up to you. The traditional article is written, but it can be an infographic, it can be a video, an illustration. And as far as payment, we can cross that bridge once we get there. But to echo some comments from earlier, we live in a digital age, so we should be able to create more digital content if people want to. The editor accepts the pitch from you, the writer, or she or he can politely pass the pitch. They might say why, they might not. Hopefully they will give you a reason why they pass if they do. Then they'll offer some guidance, they'll give you a word limit, maybe a few sources that you can contact. And they'll discuss how you can meet standards of credibility and tone for their section. We have 4 issues: September, October, November, December. CUNY sends payment upon completion of 1 full issue, which is 3 articles for every section. You can pitch articles ahead of time based on the holiday, based on a school event. You can be creative and have some, and you can plan ahead of time is what I'm trying to say. You can also pitch your own beat. Beat is a journalism word inspired by policing, actually. When a police officer would beat around a certain block, that would be known as their beat. Journalists took that phrase and said, hey, if I am assigned like the MTA, and I'm always walking around the 6 train, that is my beat. You can create your own beat as you consider your career at Lehman and beyond. Perhaps you see yourself as a nutrition expert. You can write about food. If you want to be a teacher, you might want to contribute some book reviews. Joining as an editor or an officer. So these are elected positions. It starts all over each academic year. Generally, people who have served in a previous semester, if they want to, have kind of the first claim to the next semester. That is my understanding. But everyone can apply technically for any position. You apply by writing a statement to inform other people why they should vote for you. And I'll give more details about that in a second. But before you think about applying, consider the qualifications. Editors or officers need to be enrolled at Lehman. They need to have good overall academic and social standing. They also have more responsibility than a writer. They need to attend weekly meetings and editorial meetings. And I would love to give you a time for those meetings, but I do not set them. The editor-in-chief does. So once everyone elects an EIC, an editor-in-chief, then we'll know when the weekly meetings are or any other editorial meetings. I will share this PowerPoint. You can click here for the club constitution. It was last updated in 2004. On due dates and meeting times, I would like to just read this. Or I'm sorry, this is actually a reiteration of what I just said. Basically, once the EIC is elected, the group is supposed to do everything possible to accommodate everyone's schedule. That's basically what this says. So more about operations. The EIC and the managing editor ultimately decide the editorial workflow. So in the past semester in spring, and I believe before then, it usually went through 2 rounds of editing between the writer and the editor. And regardless of the quality of the article, the process would go back and forth, kind of ping back and forth between these 2 people. and then it would eventually be approved by the editor-in-chief and the faculty advisor. This is counter to most newsrooms, so I would suggest as the advisor this semester to follow a more flexible format. Most newsrooms let the editor determine how much editing is required for their section. You might get an article that is perfect and doesn't need to go back and forth. You might get an article that needs a lot of help. And it should be up to the editor's discretion. That is my suggestion. A bit about the roles. So the editor-in-chief is kind of the cornerstone of the whole operation. It's a demanding position, not gonna lie. You have to have editorial and operational leadership abilities. You set the paper's mission and vision. The managing editor is kind of number 2 in charge. It's an editorial and an operational role, and it ensures that the paper is published to meet Associated Press or AP, as well as CUNY standards. For budgeting reasons, this is what it's coded as. And I'll confirm this all with the EIC once she or he is elected. The office manager is more of an administrative role. In the past, these two have been combined. I strongly suggest, and every other faculty member agrees with me, that these two should be separate, because the managing editor role is really more editorial, whereas the office manager is more administrative. We love the office manager because she or he gets us paid. They're the ones who orchestrate all the paperwork. The news editor is the pulse checker of noteworthy events around CUNY and Lehman. The arts and entertainment editor is someone who just loves art in whatever form. The lifestyle editor is very collaborative and curious and wants to help tell other people's stories. Social media editor is someone who creatively promotes the Meridian across relevant social platforms. Right now we have a Instagram. The Facebook has not really been active since 2014. There is opportunity for TikTok or Discord or whatever emerging platform you see fit. Whatever media will connect us to students, go for it. The copy editor role proofreads the paper for any egregious typos, and if requested, can offer some editorial support. This is very exciting. The following roles are new this semester because we adjusted the budget. And the point is to kind of create an opportunity for mentorship and advancement within the Meridian. So we now have assistant positions for each section editor. So if you are a sophomore, you could come in as an assistant news editor, and then, junior year, become the news editor, senior year, managing editor, or the editor-in-chief. So payment, the EIC receives the most. The stipend is $1,200 and additional honoraria. Honoraria is various thank yous from around the college, and it varies so much I could not give you a straight answer, but it's usually extra perks. That's from what I've gathered. All officer roles receive a $1,000 stipend. Writers are paid, as I said, at $10 a word. And that's kind of the breakdown here. This basically just says the budget is, I think I say this on the next, I'm going to skip to this little bullet here. This is me being very transparent. Compensation is notoriously slow and unpredictable. If you plan to write strictly for payment, then you should consider alternative media outlets. And that's fine. We want to respect your time, and we want to be upfront that the people who run this paper and have run it usually do it out of passion. And the money is kind of it's nice. You know, you can buy a lot of Taco Bell with it. But okay, so the Meridian, as I said, is supported by student activity fees. To get paid, one has to meet all of these requirements. The issue has to be complete. Student life needs to receive a W-9, and eventually you will receive a check. But just note that don't come here for money, unfortunately. Okay, so this briefly, because I'm almost at 20 minutes, student newspapers are so powerful. I can't tell you how many stories were broken in a student newspaper. From on a personal level, it's a great way to advance your writing skills. You meet amazing new people. You also contribute to your community. You direct the community's attention to issues that really matter. It's, I think, a very valuable way right now in a remote, stressful time to connect people. The third point is very powerful, holding authority accountable. This is an independent newspaper, so as long as you are true to the facts and fair to someone, you know, if before you write a hatchet piece on someone, you would interview them or at least offer to interview them. You know, you want to be fair, but you can hold people accountable. And that's the beauty of journalism. So today was the info session. I'm sure students will organize their own session in the future, maybe an informal gathering or something. But elections are happening quickly. They're happening the 1st of September. And I can tell you a little bit about them. I'll tell you first how you apply if you're interested in either position. To be a writer, we just need to know what you're interested in and a sense of your background. So we ask for your resume and for you to say 2-3 sentences on what you're interested in, what section you want to write for, and maybe if there's a story that you want to tell, we'd like to hear about it. It's not an elected role. Editors and officers, that is an elected role. So for internal review, i.e. I need to know, I ask that you send in your resume. Also, in one paragraph, if you could explain why you are qualified or can grow into this position, how you work with people, and what a section or operation would look like under your leadership. That's the application. And these statements will be shared with the Meridian's listserv and help, as well as the English department's listserv. And it will help students determine who to vote for. And you send all of this information to the club's main Gmail account. And all the officers have access to this. So someone will definitely read it. The election is the 1st of September. It will be hosted on Google Forms. The poll opens at 9 a.m. and it closes at 5:15 p.m. And as I said, it will be shared around. You do need a CUNY email or an IMPLID to vote. And elected officials, elected officers, assuming everything goes smoothly, will be notified by 6 p.m. And then the official results will be shared by 7 p.m. And that's everything. I know that was a lot of information, so thank you for listening. This was recorded, so I'll be sharing the recording, the PowerPoint, as well as the chat. But any questions? What do you think? Are you overwhelmed? Are you like curious? Thank you, Anel, for introducing yourself. Definitely curious. It's a lot I just threw at you. But definitely, you know, if you want to start as a writer, I think everyone here might want to contribute some writing. The way to join would be to send your resume and two, 3 sentences on who you are, what you're interested in, to the Meridian@gmail.com. Brenda asks, will there ever be a chance in the future where this club can meet in person? I am glad you asked that. I'm glad David's here to answer. He'll probably have more information.
Sure.
Mhm.
So I actually spoke quickly this morning with our team in Campus Life. Although meetings of any kind, not only student clubs, but all kinds of meetings are really not encouraged on campus. If you are on campus because you have a class and you would like to utilize the Meridian office, you are welcome to come to the Student Life building and utilize it. However, meetings in person will be a no, unfortunately. So if I'm provided with a list of editors, writers who belong to the Meridian, who are participating in the Meridian, and they are here on campus and would like to utilize the facilities, we will let you in and utilize them. We will probably ask you to schedule it ahead of time, because we don't want to have a big crowd in the office. Off-campus meetings, yeah, you can do them. Just don't tell me about it. It wouldn't be an official meeting. So just so you know, all CUNY business, okay, because of the pandemic, we have to follow the rules regardless whether we are on campus or not. So if, let's say my team in Campus Life decides to have a meeting in person, that will be on our own, right? That will be ourselves, like the individuals in Campus Life, but wouldn't be a meeting from the Office of Campus Life. So you are free to meet whoever you want, but that wouldn't be official business from that group, unfortunately. Okay, so all right, voluntary, okay. Thank you. And I have, I'm not sure if this is the correct time to, I have some suggestions for ideas, for story ideas, but I'm not sure if that's appropriate right now. I know that some students came here to learn more about the Meridian,